Three young men were standing on one of the side roads leading to the Ukrainian city of Dnipro. One of them was filming behind the camera, the other was leaning on the car parked on the side of the road, and the third, Supranyuk, was moving like a predator between the middle of the road and its side, carrying in his hand a plastic bag containing a hammer and a screwdriver, waiting for the right prey to pass by. It was not someone who appeared to be wealthy or someone who disagreed with them in ideas and beliefs, or even competed with them for prestige and position, but someone who was suitable in terms of weakness, helplessness, and inability to resist. They were waiting for the perfect victim. Unfortunately, an old man was passing by on a bicycle, so Supranyuk intercepted him with a sudden blow that made him lose his balance and fall off the bike. Then the three rushed to drag him into the forest. Then with all brutality, Supranyuk smashed the victim's face with a hammer while he was still fully conscious, so the screams of pain were mixed with mocking laughter from the Dnipropetrovsk idiots. The killer, who was crouching on the victim's chest, was committing his crime smiling and addressing his friends. "Look, he is still alive. Did I poke out his eye with a screwdriver?" Then the three explode with laughter while his two friends assure him not to rush to kill him, so he inserts the screwdriver into the victim's intestines and his eye, before gouging it out in a scene coming from the depths of darkness. After that, they took turns mutilating the corpse, each keen to take his share of it. Then they took memorial photos next to the bloodied corpse as if they were on the threshold of a famous tourist landmark, with the right hand raised in a Nazi sign. They were literally treating the victim as if he were just a plastic idol. After they were arrested and the investigation procedures were completed, the main reason for all this brutality appeared. They were having fun. Yes, that's the reason. And while having fun, why don't they earn some money by selling the tapes in case they need to? Criminals from wealthy families. After the arrest of the Dnipropetrovsk thugs and the completion of the investigation, it became clear that the crimes were committed for fun, a revelation that shocked both investigators and the public. There were no economic or political motives behind these crimes, nor even a tangible social or psychological conflict. The three young men had no need for money. They were from wealthy families, which made the shock even deeper because the brutality with which they committed the murders was not the result of pressure or need, but rather out of brutal fun and complete indifference to the lives of others. These crimes left a deep wound in Ukrainian society and the entire world, as they represented a stark picture of absolute evil. There were attempts to understand what drove these young men to commit these atrocities, but the investigations could not determine a real motive beyond sick fun. Their charges and appearance in court were surrounded by intense media coverage, especially after the leak of horrific videos that recorded the moments of the assault. The killers were convicted and sentenced to long prison terms, with Igor Supranyuk, one of the main defendants, being sentenced to life in prison, a sentence that was considered small compared to the horror of the crimes. However, the sentence was unable to restore a sense of security or justice to the victims and their families, as the psychological wounds remained deep. This type of crime shows how much man can stoop to unprecedented levels of cruelty, and prompts society to question how to deal with such psychological and social deviations. After the trial of the Dnipropetrovsk psychopaths, the results were not enough to calm the popular anger that swept Ukraine and the world. Society was horrified not only by the brutality of the crimes, but also by the fact that these criminals were normal people from the upper middle class, which raised deeper questions about how they could reach such levels of brutality and indifference to human life. In attempts to understand their motives, psychologists were called in, who concluded that these young men displayed unstable psychological traits, including a lack of empathy and a complete detachment from the moral community. The killers appeared to enjoy controlling the lives and deaths of their victims, transgressing the human boundaries that govern relationships between people. However, no clear explanation has been given as to why their lives took such a dark path. Videos documenting some of the crimes have spread across the internet, adding another layer of horror to the case. It was not only the crimes themselves that shocked people, but also the effort the killers put into documenting everything as if they were making an entertaining movie. The spread of these videos led to a global uproar around the issue of online violence, and a debate about the responsibility of platforms for promoting such content. The Dnipropetrovsk crimes have cast a shadow over Ukrainian society, as people began to fear that such cases may be more prevalent than they thought. This prompted the authorities to tighten penalties for heinous crimes and to try to strengthen the role of psychiatric institutions in monitoring the behavior of mentally disturbed individuals. The case has also sparked a global debate about the impact of digital violence, as crimes have become documented and circulated as part of the dark internet culture. This has opened the door to discussions about ethics and the harm that watching such videos can cause to young people and the general public. Ultimately, the case of the Dnipropetrovsk psychopaths remains a terrifying reminder of how deep into darkness a person can fall if they lack moral and psychological restraints. With every attempt to understand these crimes, unanswered questions remain. Could these crimes have been avoided if intervention had been made in the lives of these young people before the tragedy occurred? Could such brutality be seen elsewhere? These questions remain fresh in the minds of many.